Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Welcome to Plano, Texas.
Thanks for having us, TJ.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's good stuff. So it's October 4th, 2023. We're at the man, the myth, the legend, TJ Humphreys here in Plano, Texas, right?
Plano,
Outside
Texas.
of north of Dallas.
North of Dallas.
Ben flew in. I drove in, and we are very honored to be here.
Me too.
In ABE Nation now.
You are official ABE, and you wore the appropriate. Did you come dressed like that?
Okay, so when we
see, but here that's the story. This is a great segue.
This is great because so people don't know this, but we tried to do an online podcast.
That's true.
And Mike made fun of me because he showed up in all black, and I was wearing like, I don't know what it was, but it was the opposite of black. It was like white or red or something. So like I went like Johnny Cash with this because I was like, if they're gonna fly us out, like I have to wear all black.
Bro, so funny you use the Johnny Cash reference because Lance, my sales guy, says he uses Johnny Cash all the time. Like people wear black when they want to look, feel, do their best, right? It's like when you want to bring your very best, whether it's taking a girl out to dinner, in the gym, like go to the gym and see how many people are wearing black. So it's about a mindset, and so many people ask about what ABE stands for, and that's you're proving me up, man.
Dude,
exactly.
I mean, I've always been like a black clothing person. I mean, it just looks clean. You look at my closet, it's like black and then like a couple of other colors.
Mine too.
Mostly
so it made this
companies.
really easy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all heavy metal t-shirts and stuff, so I have a lot of black too, and then I failed you.
Oh, it's all right. It's okay. You know, you need contrast. You need
There
contrast.
we go. There we go, yeah.
But yeah, we walk in here on all black walls. Like this office looks amazing. So
thank you.
You have a good thing going on here. So
it was fun.
We want to talk the TJ story. I'm not sure if we want to like get into to ABE. All black everything.
Yep.
I'm not even sure what we should officially call it.
I think it probably starts with TJ because the ABE story, we started it on the podcast that we tried, and it kind of like comes from where you.
It does. It really is kind of like I was just in Liverpool and I was talking with my partners, and it's kind of the last. It's kind of the last peak I need to climb as an entrepreneur, and I've used that in when people say at 53 years old. Why are you jumping back in the saddle and starting something from scratch? And I think for people that know my history, it all makes sense. If you know kind of where I came from in the space and getting to where we are now with ABE, it all makes sense,
So talk to us about where you started, VPX.
Yeah, it's actually, I'll take you back a little bit further.
Yeah,
I'll take you back a little bit further.
Before we do that, can we do some chugs of the drinks before the microphones catch them?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So chug.
Mike worries that the microphone's going to catch you swallowing.
Oh, I got
The
you.
swallowing sound is disgusting on the audio podcast.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. We're experienced in a lot of chugging drinks.
And I needed some caffeine there, so thank you. All right.
Yeah, we're good.
But yeah, it starts a little bit earlier.
Where did you start before VPX?
So funny, my first, my entree into sports nutrition really was a distributor. So it was Lone Star. It was Lone Star Distribution. So I had been at the time an active kind of fitness guy before fitness was even popular. Gyms were not near on every street corner, right? But I was working out a lot. Didn't start competing yet, but I loved fitness, right? And had an opportunity to come down to Dallas and partner with John Hoffman, who had a little distributor called Lone Star Distribution in Dallas, Texas. He found out that the girl he was dating was pregnant. So he said, I can't do this on my own. He flew me down. I walked into a 20,000 square foot warehouse full of protein powders. At the time, no pre-workouts even existed. Shows my age a little bit, but like it was just protein powders, protein bars, drinks. ABB with ephedra was still around. But I walked into this warehouse. I said, man, I could do this. I can do this. So for the first year, I just basically learned the business.
So you're not from here originally?
No, from originally Southern California.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
I've been. Well, so I was a military guy, so I got moved around a little bit. But got here, partnered with John at Lone Star, got really kind of cut my teeth in the industry by talking to, bodybuilding.com back in the day, GNC. It was even pre-Vitamin Shop, but just really understood this business from, a distributor point of view, but also what a retailer's looking for, and then ultimately what the consumer.
Can you tell me what years are you talking about right now?
Yeah,
like late 90s, or was this?
Yeah, it was late 90s. It was late 90s.
Doesn't it go even further back though? Didn't you have some smoothie stands or something in Southern California?
Juice Stop. Yeah,
Juice Stop.
You go way back. So that's a funny story. So that's my first I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, And when I was 8, I actually bought bags of popcorn and sold them to a competing elementary school that would walk by our school that didn't have popcorn. They'd walk by our school. We were the only school that had Friday afternoon popcorns. So I wound up investing like $3 every Friday, and I bought like 30 bags of popcorn for like 10 cents, sold them to 50 cents to kids that were walking by my school. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life.
So how did that start? Like, were your parents entrepreneurial, or
No,
it was military family? Like,
no, Dad,
part of my thing is like I never was brought up like that much, and some people naturally were. But
so I think entrepreneurialism is in your DNA. I believe that. I think it's hard to teach. I really believe that. I think being an entrepreneur, it's not for everybody. I've actually gone on, my own social media channels and said, look, you don't always have to be an entrepreneur to be a part of a winning organization. But my grandfather, he brought Beck's beer from Germany to the U.S. He bought the importing rights from this family-owned Beck's beer, which was back in the day a very big German beer. He bought the importing rights to Beck's beer here in the U.S. back in the 50s, grew it to ungodly amounts, and so I think it's kind of in my blood. Very
cool.
Yep.
Okay, so
back to the
so Lone
supplement
Star.
industry.
Yep.
At what point did you get out of that? Because that there's a huge story there. We were at Destination Dallas this morning, pointing out they still have Lone Star refrigerators.
It's wild, right? Yeah.
So I was telling them, like, someone's got to like replace those.
So what was cool for me, Lone Star, I had really great, like I said, that's for 6 years I really kind of learned, 5 to 6 years I really learned the business. I sold my interest back to my partners then, jumped over into VPX. That's where my year and a half at VPX, which was the longest year and a half of my life.
How much can we talk?
Yeah, I was like, tell us a bit.
The whole podcast.
The whole podcast. Yeah. How many hours we got?
Yeah, we're done.
Right. No, here's what I would say. I would say that was my first opportunity to understand brand, and really from the brand perspective, I would say I learned more what not to do than what to do. So it's valuable, right?
What years are we talking? Like, what years /
So gosh, that would have been, let's see, 94 would have been, 94 is when I started Juice Stop, so fast forward. So it would have been 2000, so VPX was 2010.
Oh, okay.
So I was Lone Star, 2005 to 2010, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you saw the pre-workout thing get serious around that time and everything.
That's exactly right.
BSN had NO Explode.
Yep.
Gaspari, you had blue versus red. You had Gaspari had the Super Pump 250.
Red. Yes.
And then
and then VPX, of course, had their NO shotgun.
Right, and so that's what I was going to bring up because that one had a little bit more like bicarbonate and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So for people, because it's so funny, like I feel like we have to like give more background to people who are watching this who know VPX. They know Bang.
They know Bang. Right.
But like, when you were at VPX, like what was that? At that point?
VPX really was NO shotgun.
Yeah.
It really was. And look,
what about Redline? I thought Redline was.
I take it back. Redline as the drink was if anyone has ever had a Redline, I mean, it is so deceiving. It's 8 ounces. It tastes ridiculously good, but it will absolutely floor you. And this is, I mean, I think the formula's been changed.
8 packs of them at GNC.
Oh,
like 4
man.
packs of them.
So it cranked. The drink cranked. But really, so there was this separate beverage business, which was Redline. And then I kind of came over to help with GNC and Vitamin Shop on the specialty powder business. We sold drinks too, but it was mostly NO Shotgun, Zero Impact bars. I don't know if you remember those.
Yes.
Those are actually really good too. We had some good products over there, and it's kind of a shame that the organization as a whole wasn't set up conducive for, I would say, encouraging those in the organization to grow. Because if it spent more time doing that, I think it would have been ultimately successful.
But you learned lessons from that, right?
I did learn lessons. Yeah. The lessons were pretty clear. How to deal with customers, how to deal with retailers. Marketing wise, I learned, okay, look, here's some things that you could do to encourage, whether it's trial, events, to do, not to do, just a variety of things.
So you mentioned it was the longest year and a half, kind of jokingly, but is this because you were working insane hours, you were doing too many jobs, or was it just chaotic, or just?
No, I think I came in there at a time when I think VPX on the specialty sports side was falling out of favor, and then coupled with the fact that on the beverage side, it was taking all of the resources. So we just were kind of like, I came into this situation where the brand was softening, and then the resources to help stimulate growth weren't there. So it was kind of like all of us. There were a handful of guys there that were going, okay, now what do we do, right? And then we were dealing with some recall issues. The Zero Impact Bar, the first 2 months were great. And then month 3, it had like salad all over it, right? Mold and whatnot, right? So not good. So we're dealing with, $500,000 recalls, right? And so when you think about learning, in a year and a half, learning about all of that stuff, what happens when a product goes bad? What happens when a formula that you think is gonna be stable goes out into market and 6 months later comes back looking like golf balls, right? There's all those things that you learn.
Yeah.
And it takes that experience to really get to a point where you feel like, okay, I've got this really valuable book of experience that I can leverage in what the next life looks like.
The value of knowing what not to do
Yeah.
is almost more important than knowing what to do.
I agree.
Like learning to not make those mistakes. There's a lot of people who are learning those mistakes with beverage and food these days now.
Yeah.
I think the contract manufacturers probably are able to steer people a little bit better. I think that's probably, they learned those lessons as well.
For sure.
But, so you were pre-Bang?
I was pre-Bang. Now, he did
pre-liquid Bang.
Yeah, so he had a Bang product, and it was more of a, if I remember correctly, it was in a plastic bottle, non-carbonated. I don't even know if it was a pre-workout. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Well, 5 Hour Energy started taking off, and that maybe was it?
No,
it
so
a
he had his own Redline shot, and I was there when that was happening too. What was funny is, and I can recall a handful of times where, so I was running an IndyCar program also at the same time when I was at VPX. Redline was my sponsor. So we were trying to encourage, because I was in that motorsports marketing activation world. I said, Jack, look at what Monster's doing. Look at what Rockstar at the time was doing. Red Bull was playing in F1 and all these other like really expensive sports, but Monster and NASCAR, and I'm like, okay, look, we could do a carbonated. Like we got Redline. Why don't we do a carbonated Redline?
Right.
And it was just kind of, whatever, you're an idiot, right? So a year later, he comes out with Bang, and for him, the rest I would say is history, but
we were talking about
really
spectator sports before.
Yeah.
In spectator sports, people love that stuff.
Man,
they
do.
I don't think they want to mix a pre-workout or whatever, but
they'll sip on a Monster or a Rockstar or a Bang or,
crack a can open.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. I mean, ultimately, that's where I want to take ours because I know that space. I know motorsports activation. I know a lot of those different opportunities to get cans in hands, right? And that's important,
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Red Bull does it extremely well. The Red Bull girls, the Monster, the trucks that go everywhere.
Dude, how they activate is just, I love that stuff. So I'm like, to the core, like, yeah, we own a brand, but like, I love marketing. Like, that's what I love. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think we've said this as much recently, but like most of these brands are really just marketing companies that have like an asset to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really what most of this is driving consumption. You have to have a sales team to get it in store,
right,
to get it on the shelf, but most of it is really driving consumption.
100%. I mean, I've always said, even for us here, because of the relationships that I've invested in and have built, they've given me an opportunity to get product on the shelf. But ultimately, you said it perfectly. Consumption's everything.
Yeah.
It's how do you get the consumer? How can we communicate what we're doing and encourage a consumer that's maybe been buying another product for the last 1, 2, 3 years to try our product for the first time, right? That's the magic.
Yeah. So you're a year and a half at VPX,
yep.
And you find your way to ProSupps.
Yeah. So quick story there. So I think I was pretty clear that it wasn't a great experience at VPX. So my departure from there was, it was imminent. Like I knew I needed to do something.
I was just trying to skip to ProSupps, and then let you gloss over that.
Jump right over. No. So ProSupps is great. So ProSupps.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you know that you're going to have to make a jump.
Yeah.
But you're like, there's only so many bad jumps you can make in life. So it's like it's a big deal.
100%.
Like looking back,
dude, 100%. And I'll tell you, I debated it.
This?
Dude, I debated it because. So ProSupps was professional supplements.
Right.
For those that may not know what ProSupps or professional supplements was, professional supplements was owned by a guy named Art Atwood, who was my bodybuilding coach. He was the one that got me ready for USAs and nationals. Good friend of mine, lived in Dallas. I carried professional supplements when I was at Lone Star. So he and I had this great relationship. He'd come in the warehouse at like 5, 6 o'clock at night, and we would talk about business and TJ, how do I work with Europa? Long story short, he passed away. He passed away in September 11th of 2011. He passed away he had a heart attack. And his family, when they went into his apartment and were going through all this stuff, he journaled. He used to yellow pad when that was a thing. It still probably is a thing. Oh. He journals everything. So my name was all over these, talk to TJ about this, talk to TJ about that. They Google searched, his sister Google searched, because they inherited this business. They Google searched me up. Oh, this is how I can get in touch with them. They got in touch with me. They said, hey, we inherited professional supplements. We don't know what to do with this. I'm a staffing person. My husband and I run a staffing company. We don't know a thing.
And
really.
Your name's all over it.
My name's all over it. So she's like, do you want to invest in it? Do you want to run it? And at the time I was at VPX. I'm like, I hate it. I hate it here. I hate it where I'm at here. But do I want to start over again? At the time, I was literally, my boy was about to be born. So it was like all this stuff was happening. So I debated it. I'm like, do I want to start from scratch again, you know? Put it out on a pass line. I said, let's do it. I wound up buying the brand, hired a bunch of guys who had worked with me at VPX, that brought them over, paid them like top ramen salary for like the first year. They all agreed to it because everyone was kind of miserable, you know? And they're like, hey, this is going to be fun.
And working with you
and
seems
we're young,
fun.
man. Yeah, and we have a.
And
yeah.
you brought over an all-star team too.
Well, I did.
Like, let's give some credit. Like, there was some
100%.
big
rock stars, man.
Yeah, like
rock stars. And this is back in the day when, it's unfortunate because I miss those days so much, where humans mattered.
This was a different time back then.
It was,
You weren't
man.
watching people on Instagram. Like,
Right.
VPX and ProSupps had sales teams.
Right.
Like, this is where a lot of these people come from.
I mean,
You
there
talk
was
about,
Facebook, but it wasn't like.
You talk about Ike.
It was like MySpace, dude. It was like even like yeah.
Like give some credit to the team. Like who
Oh,
was it? It was
are
like
you
Ike,
kidding?
Eddie, JP.
Oh, dude,
like,
Ike,
right,
Eddie, JP, Jason Arntz. I mean, the core guys were just like, they were all rock stars. Still are.
like an all-star team that eventually like went to other places. And they're
Yeah,
all over
for
now.
For sure. And
Super cool.
it's a pretty cool story, and it's one of those things. We have this really kind of iconic photo. When we all started, I brought them down to my house. I call it the largest meathead sleepover of all time. They all stayed at my house, and we cooked out, and we talked for 3 days straight about what ProSupps, because at the time it was still professional supplements, what that was going to look like. We shrunk the name. We created the logo. I brought a guy in that does a lot of extreme sports graphics. He created labels. We went to the Arnold Classic 2 or 3 weeks later. We screen printed these crazy Dickies gas station shirts, oversized, and we were all kind of jacked. That was the other thing. All of us were jacked. So
Your sales team was yoked.
Yoked, right?
Yeah.
So we show up in the Arnold with nothing to sell. We have a book, a 3-ring binder with like sketches and drawings and like printouts of what ProSupps is going to be, not even what we were. Kind of like, this is what we envision it to be. We had meetings with retailers. And I'm telling you right now, we have this iconic photo of us just sitting there. And that is the most precious thing. Because it's like, it takes you back to a time where it's like, you had nothing, but you had everything. Because your everything was, you had this group of guys that just believed, right? It was just beautiful.
We're gonna get as many of these pictures as possible.
No, we can get that one.
In the
I
show
get it.
notes
I
and
get
stuff.
that one. It was a beautiful time.
So okay, so like, not to get too, I don't want to say personal or anything, but I'm just out of curiosity. At this point, what was your title at VPX when you left?
God, I think it was I think it was either director of business development or something like that. Yeah.
So like, I don't want to ask too much, but like, you were doing well at this point, and you decided to start over.
Yeah,
right?
for sure,
like,
for sure. I mean, when I sold my share in Lone Star, I had some money saved. I could have, I don't say I could have retired, but I could have not decided to jump back in the saddle and literally leverage my credit cards and do all the stuff that I had to do to get ProSupps going. I could have decided to do that.
It's pretty cool to hear all that. So for me, like, I hate dating myself in front of everyone on podcasts because I am the youngest person. The beard helps, but like ProSupps to me was where I got in. Like what
Really?
you did, like, dude, I drank your carb product.
Yeah. So, oh, really? It was
Carbolic.
It was carbolic.
That was like,
you drank that.
That was my shit, dude.
Dude,
I was
that's
like
hardcore.
I was like 190 pounds.
I mean, that's
hardcore.
hardcore. That's a hardcore. I was like drinking pancake syrup, and it was like 16
It
ounces
was
of
like
pancake.
bread liquefied. It was like a red like fruit punch.
Oh,
it was
tasted good,
disgusting,
man.
but it was good.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was thick, but it was good.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I went to the Atlantic City Europa.
Yeah.
And you guys had that guy dressed up as Mr. Hyde with the glasses and like the spikes and stuff. Like ProSupps at that point, that was what was cool.
That's a funny story that we may or may not have time for. That guy's name was Robbie Archer. And I said, I used to love going to Disneyland. and when I was a kid, and I used to love seeing the characters. And that was the most memorable thing for me when I was a kid. I said, you know what? We've got this really cool pre-workout called Hyde. Let's get a human that embodies what Hyde is. And let's take him, back in the day, events were a thing. Let's take him to all the events. He's gonna be what people are gonna show up and take pictures with. Robbie Archer's a 6'8" Canadian stuntman, jacked, tatted. We came up with the costume. We said, look, get one of those crazy like hazmat gas masks, get him a trench coat, rip the sleeves off.
Yep.
But I'm telling you remember him, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that was, I mean, these days, I mean, I hate saying this stuff because like it's so stereotypical, but like people appreciate the social media posts more than the event these days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But back then, I remember, that was the first event I ever worked. I was at NutriBio.
Yep.
But I remember him walking around. I remember walking over and watching a dude blow his bicep off his arm in a powerlifting competition. Like, I remember like watching The Rock was on the stage because he was trying to get into bodybuilding.
But that's all, it's crazy. That stuff really did happen.
It happened in person, and people remember that stuff, and that was like history. But these days, like, you would be waiting for Bradley Martin's post on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, like,
no, trust me, man. It's the field, the playing field we play on now, but it is not near. Like, for those that love this industry like we do, I never get tired of going back to those days mentally.
You have to play the game.
And I was actually mentioning this last night, and this isn't about me, but like most of my dreams come from when I was rolling with a bunch of dudes. And so like that's what I get excited about is when you said you had your guys and everything. And that's why I've gone from not liking trade shows as much to loving them, because like we get to like do this like traveling group hunting thing almost. And we're like expanding territory. And when you talk about like the heydays of you rolling with a bunch of dudes, like that to me like gets me so excited because
the bar at the Arnold, the Renaissance at the Olympia back before they moved it. Like,
so funny, the Renaissance at the Olympia, my very first booth, me and Ike woke up at 5 every morning. We worked out in the gym, in the little hotel gym. We ran down to the Renaissance couch before they roped it off where you couldn't do it. And we said, this is our office all weekend.
Yeah.
And we pitched tent there, and we had our meetings. We didn't have a booth.
Some of my closest friends, Greg Helton. I met him.
Greg.
We both were just sitting at the Renaissance getting food, and we sat there for like 4 hours. Because if you leave, you lose the spot.
Use a spot.
Yeah. And at the beginning of PricePlow, like I knew my time was better spent at the Renaissance than in the expo.
Yeah,
because
for
you
sure.
run into like I
All the
ran
people.
into everyone.
Yeah.
Like, that was how I met people.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like, you know, like you walk around the Renaissance and like, not that we're any big deal, but like you see my face at the Renaissance, you come over and say hello because you recognize me from the videos.
Right.
But in the expo, consumers wouldn't really recognize me.
Yeah.
But the insiders would.
The insiders do. Yeah, it's weird in our community, right? Like it's but I think what's kind of cool, and you guys are a perfect example of this, socially, it's allowed you guys as in your own personal brands to expand maybe way beyond like what an expo would do. And I think that's where the industry is kind of gone to, and they've realized is like you can do these $250,000 booths, and you can hand out a lot of samples like we did. We did for.
I want to talk about the Arnold. I want to talk about this with you. Yeah. Because
so
you guys did this huge.
Oh, it was incredible, man.
It was jumping.
Well, it was so funny. So funny. I have so much video of me standing next to you because you guys were so busy.
Oh my God.
And like it was impossible to get to talk to anyone at the booth.
No, for sure.
Because it was so busy.
It was like jamming, man. And it brought me back to those days back then when that was the thing. But I'll tell you, like, you know, the kind of the post-mortem that we all had as a group after that was incredible team building opportunity, like incredible opportunity to get products into people's hands. Would we do it again at that scale? And we struggle because it was really expensive. And we all know about the Arnold. I think a huge percentage of those people drive in from local, you know, where the colleges or whatnot. So you see the same audience. Like I remember going at ProSupps and we did booths. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember you guys from last year. I remember you from last year. That was the common theme, is like the same people are coming back. It's great to see them. And it's great to re-engage on the consumer side, but as a brand, especially as expensive as things are, you got to really allocate and say, okay, what's the best?
You be able to get a return. You be able to sell.
That's right.
Selling isn't really as big anymore.
You're right, Ben. Exactly.
And people, I hate to say this, less people are going.
They are.
This year, I have to say, like, shout out to like that festival. That the Arnold Festival is kind of back, and I really believe that next year's going to be a big one. There's a couple really cool things coming back, and we were super excited to see like how busy it was for you.
Yeah, we are. So for the record, we are doing a booth.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out the scale.
Yeah, I was going to say. My last expo that I was ever part of, we did, I think it was 2017 Olympia, and I did a 40 by 40.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I don't want to put anyone's numbers out there, but you can understand how expensive
Oh my gosh,
you got to bring 35 people to work that.
Dude, if you remember, just our big backdrop, which really, it was a backdrop and it was storage, but it wasn't, nothing mechanical, no video, just building that, and we don't have it, by the way. They took it and trashed it. It's like 60 grand.
You don't keep that.
You don't keep, no. We couldn't store it. It was just a big fabric on a frame, and they just, now I think we may have the fabric, but to redo the frame, you're looking at least half the cost. So like, it gets expensive.
That's like a salary. I mean, you have so many other opportunity costs.
Well, now that people do a lot of the reusable ones, right? And you can change out the panels. And ideally.
So so my partners love events. As you know, so our brand obviously is from Liverpool, right? And
I guess we can continue the story.
I'm jumping ahead here.
Right,
but
best.
Well, in UK, Body Power, you got all the big ones.
FIBO,
they're
Body
still
Power,
big over there.
Dubai Muscle Show, which is coming around in like a month, right? And they're huge, and they're still big selling shows. So like you get distributors that fly in from all over the world to some of these big shows.
Yeah.
And they sit down and they see this ginormous booth with all these people and all these new products. And look, as a consumer, these buyers are consumers too.
Yes.
They go to the booth and they say, wow, I'm really proud I carry this brand. Yeah, I'll do a $100,000 order. They'll do it at the show. Whereas maybe until they re-engage with you, you're a brand, but when they see this huge like presentation and they get reinvigorated.
Yeah, people don't realize that like that's a lot of the reason for doing these expos is the behind the scenes business.
That's right.
Because overseas distributors come into the Arnold, they come to the Olympia. I mean that Renaissance. I mean how much money is exchanged there, right? Millions. Okay, so we're kind of in the middle of ProSupps here. I want to talk about like, that rise of ProSupps, maybe just selfishly for myself because I was a lover of that brand. But to be fair, like a lot of things happened there. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, we got to talk Jekyll Hyde, obviously.
No stims.
Iconic, and Hyde is still a big seller.
And Hyde was one of the first like mainstream 400 megs of caffeine pre-workouts at the time.
We wanted to be literally that product that was legal, but absolutely pushed the threshold on the stimulant side. So we had alpha yohimbi in it, we had caffeine, we had synephrine in the early round. It was a highly stimulated.
Can I ask, at that time, was Sandler involved at that point?
Not initially. No, he actually came on right when private equity came. Yeah.
Okay.
Literally, we brought him on as part of like and I love Dave as well. They brought him on because, hey, here's a guy that knows the formulas and this and that, and we can bring him in. And it was great, because I'm like, I love this guy. So.
And he's presentable to someone.
Yeah.
They needed an adult.
He doesn't look like us. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't look like us, and he can talk intelligently about ingredients
and those shirts that he wears.
Oh, the shirts are crazy. I mean, you can catch like a tropical fish with those shirts. Like crazy, right? So Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Quick backstory: we were sitting same time that we were sitting at the Meathead mansion during like before we went to the Arnold, we're developing
ideation phase or whatever.
So we're sitting down and we're saying, man, we want to come out with 2 pre-workouts, but we need them to be total opposites. Like Hyde is, we didn't even have a name. We said we need one that's like highly stimulated, crack, just super strong, and then one that is something that's more, mainstream, more pump based.
It was like pump and aminos, I think, right?
We didn't have, so I don't think we had aminos in it. It was just mostly pump. And it did have it, now I think it might have had a few aminos in it.
I think it had a couple of aminos.
But it was low stim. So really we said polar opposites. And we're coming up with all these goofy names like, yin yang and like, what are polar opposite pre-workouts? And JP, Lanza's like, oh, this is easy. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And we all sat around the kitchen table. We're like, yo, that's it. Yeah. So that's how he named it. And I know he tells his story because he's so proud of it.
I hope he does.
He should tell.
He's never told me it's to me. And I can't believe that because that's a great story.
No, it's all him. And I think all of us guys were like, yo, he named those products. So
and he's back there now.
He is. So I think they're actually coming out with another version of Jekyll and Hyde. Hyde has been through a variety of iterations.
That's crazy. Just like, I wonder how much revenue that moment in time that he just spat out there created.
Like that was like hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more.
Yeah, so I mentioned like, it must have been like $1 billion or whatever, and then
What happened next?
Well, yeah, I mean, so Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, low stim, high stim, like a brand new concept.
Yep.
This is actually like right after all the big pre-workouts, right? No Explode,
Jack 3D,
Jack 3D,
that came.
BPI, 1MR.
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
This
And
is
then
where
we
you're
jumped
really
in.
starting to jump into like efficacious kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Right? Like your blood pumping and energy.
Like you said, all of us guys were into it. So we like really loved building the products. Like we built stuff that we liked. And some of the stuff we only liked. Like we're the only guys that liked it because we try to sell it and people are like, yo, that's like, no, we can't.
Parabolic.
Do you remember leucine matrix?
Absolutely.
Okay. By formula, Jason Arts, pro bodybuilder, said, no, it needs to have these three different leucines. If you open that thing up, it smelled like a dirty sock. And so only the hardcore group would take it. So bottom line, you live and learn, right?
But back then, that was an allure.
For sure. I mean, that's a cool thing. We came out with stuff that was really cutting edge. And guys like you said, you know what? I love this brand because they're innovative. They're always thinking. Do you guys remember Hyde in a cap? Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
yeah.
How cool was that?
Yeah. Press it in.
Yep.
Unscrew it.
Yep.
Shake
it, and then all of a sudden you literally, because people are trying to do ready-to-drink pre-workouts, but the problem is, you guys know the ingredients degrade.
Yeah.
So what's the only way that you can get a true pre-workout in an RTD, and we literally sourced the cap, we built the powder, shipped the powder to the cap guy, he filled the caps. It was a pain in the ass.
I was working at Vitamin Shop at this point.
But it was cool as shit. It was one of the things that people are like, so even in our brand now, different formats, trying to think of ways to really keep the interest in our industry going. That was one of them. Like that powder in a cap was legit.
That was super awesome. So, okay, so how long were you at ProSupps before you exited?
Gosh. So I sold the business, a majority of the business, to a private equity firm in 2015. So I started in 2011, 2012. So about, maybe 3 or 4 years until we sold. And then I stayed on for another 5 years after that.
I was just gonna ask, like, was this a financial thing or were you unhappy? But if you stayed for 5 years, you probably weren't.
No, so so it was crazy. I felt like at the time I wanted to bring on some additional kind of human resources, people that have done it, been there, done that, had dealt with the likes of a Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club and different. And at that time, I had just presented to Walmart, so I didn't really totally understand that world, that FDM world. So I thought by bringing on a private equity partner, I could take me and the team. So it wasn't just me. So early on, I gave all the team some equity in the business, just as additional. So everyone had a little payday when we sold, which is good. And then I stayed on for 5 years. And I'll tell you, it was hard. And I would say that would be the one thing, if people were to ask me if they're in a place where I'm bringing on an investor or a partner or somebody, whether it's private equity or whatnot, you really have to be, you've got to be aware that when you bring on people from the outside, especially people from the outside of the industry that don't totally know the industry, things can change, and opinions are different. And, what somebody might think is the right path may not be the right path. So that's the challenge, right?
And they view it as widgets, and a lot of the bros you were working with, that's anything but that.
100%. And it's finding that balance, right? Because look, what we were doing with leucine matrix didn't make financial sense either, right? So it's finding that balance. But I would say, like, hindsight being 20/20, I wish I rode with our guys a little bit longer than I did.
Okay. Gotcha. Was it a 5-year earnout? Like, that's a long time.
So no,
Usually it's
that's a great question. So I actually still have equity in the brand. I just left as an employee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's still there. And, the guys they're doing a bunch of things to try to reinvigorate the brand. Mm-hmm. But, I think, when you bring people in from the outside and they all have their opinions about what it should look like, it should feel like, it should taste like, and they differ from what people in the industry view as what it should look. There are challenges, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because those people most likely are right.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about who the buyers at Walmart
Right.
will appreciate, and that's really where the money is.
Yeah.
But as niche consumers and enthusiasts, we understand that, our smaller industry will prefer these things.
Yeah, no,
and what
you're
might
right.
technically work better.
Yes.
But it might not sell well, might not be as profitable. It might not be the widget that they want.
But we love Hyde walking around with ripped clothing and stuff.
Yeah,
so
right.
like,
And they would be like, what is that guy? That guy's on the payroll? Like, what does he do? Is he a bodyguard? What does he do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to slightly shift gears, but I know this is going to be appreciative. You signed DJ Khaled to ProSupps.
oh no.
That was the most controversial signing that I remember in our industry. In terms of controversial.
I mean, like, everyone talks about Kim Kardashian and Alani this year, but you did it first. I want to talk about this. I said it for you. Don't worry. I said it for you. Don't worry. So tell us about how it went, where it came from, where did it go, and I mean, ultimately, I'll also say I don't think it worked all that well. So, hindsight's all 2020.
No, it is 2020, right? And so here was the vision. I'll tell you the vision, because I think that's when I tell people the vision, they're like, okay, I get it. And I want to say, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here when I say this. I had worked with Rock Nation a number of times. So I had signed Des Bryant back in the day, Juju Smith-Schuster. I was doing a lot of stuff with athletes, and really close friends with Michael Yormark, who's the president of Rock Nation. He and I are good friends. And I went to it was a Chargers game at the time, and we had Mel Ingram on our team as an athlete. We're sitting in the stands, and I tell Michael, I said, hey man, I'm going to come out with this energy drink. It's going to be a carbonated energy drink called Hyde. He said, oh, I got the perfect guy. We can do Kevin Durant. I said, no. I want to get an artist. He said, really? I said, yeah, you know what? We can do athletes, but I think this is different. Like, I want to take what our industry is kind of like dubbed as being, oh, it's only a sports nutrition product. This is like right around bang launching. Like, our industry still embraced the carbonated as a pre-workout drink. I said, no, I want to take Hyde and make it more mainstream. Meaning, I want artists, I want an artist community to be able to recognize these products as, you know what? I can drink them when I'm doing whatever, when I'm mixing music, when I'm doing, and he said, Khaled. I'm like, DJ Khaled? He said, yep. I said, I think he would be perfect. And of course, the reason I got so much hate mail on it was Khaled is not a fit guy.
Right.
We are a fit industry. Khaled does not have abs, in case you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But what I saw in Khaled was a guy who embraces partnerships. And for us, where the disconnect was at that time I had private equity involved, and I couldn't bridge the gap between where I wanted to take the partnership and what they thought the partnership ultimately was. So, to your point, I think it could have worked.
Because it's got energy and passion and like.
Let me tell you some of the opportunities that we couldn't do because I couldn't align with my partners. Khaled's like, look, I'm going on tour with Beyonce and Jay-Z. 52 city tour stop. I'll wrap the bus. I'll wrap the DJ table. I'll have Hyde. He had his own flavor. I don't know if you remember. Hyde Vibes.
Yeah.
He named it. He approved the flavor. This is how involved he was in the brand.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
No, and so that's where I'd say, like, a lot of people that have these influencers or athletes, that's why here I'm only picking up and looking at people that truly want to be involved in the process, right? Because that is the most authentic way to communicate partnership, is bringing people in at the level that, these high-paid guys, they're not hired guns to me, they're partners, right? And Khaled was a partner. So we went backstage. He was approving energy drink samples backstage before he went out. So he proved Hyde. Long story short, it could have worked, and this is why. We had all this opportunity on tour. All these things that he invited us to do. Like, he invited us to his house to do, he had this private party. P. Diddy was there. Marky Mark. Wahlberg. Thank you. He's gonna hate me. He doesn't know me, but if he did, he'd hate me for that. All these really high, A-list people. Khaled just said, hey, can you come up, bring a couple of the girls, set up in my backyard, hand out drinks. That's the kind of partner he was. So, like, that is a very unique thing.
That's awesome. I did not know this.
Like with Kim and, granted, huge partnerships, right? But how involved, right? I mean, and maybe that's not what they use them for. I really loved when a consumer said, you know what, Khaled really is a part of what these guys are doing, right?
When you talk about partnerships that are working right now, you're really only talking about people like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
CBUM.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
people flew international to go to the Natural Body event to talk to him, but only because they felt authenticity with that.
that's right.
Right?
They have done, and look, CBUM and Dom and those guys over there have done such a good job really connecting the dots. They've done a great, and look, I've never met CBUM before, but I can tell he loves being a part of it. He genuinely loves being a part of the process, you know, and that comes through.
So what went wrong with this tour then? Did you not wrap the bus? Did you not?
So there was an expense involved. I looked at it like, hey, we're already investing. Here's the other crazy thing. If I told you this, and I'll just tell you this because I think some people know. I got him for a royalty on the product. No salary, no equity. Like what's going on now?
That's real buy-in.
Wow.
That's real
That's
buy-in.
buy-in.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that. I got him on a royalty deal only.
And he's incentivized to sell
Sell
product.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, Hyde Vibes at Vitamin Shop, for us, we had like 8 SKUs in there. Hyde Vibes was the #1 seller, like 3x. They did displays. He showed up. He did these, like it was crazy.
And to give credit to Vitamin Shop, this is a game plan for them.
Yeah.
Prime, Alani, right?
They're plugging into all of that now.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, you talk about Vitamin Shop running these.
Vitamin Shop, yeah.
They run these consumption like basically campaigns because it's not like Alani's selling this direct and you can also get it at Vitamin Shop. You have to get it at Vitamin Shop, right?
Yeah,
So that's why
right.
DJ Khaled, it works because he's like, hey, check out this new drink, get it at Vitamin
Only
Shop.
exclusively at Vitamin Shop.
Yeah.
So you got to go in there to get the product, right? 100%.
Totally makes sense.
It does. And look, if I was the CEO of Vitamin Shop or GNC for that matter, I think that's, retail challenge today is how do you get the traffic, right? And that's one, I would say, guaranteed way when you have, a exclusive product or flavor.
Yeah.
And especially when the athlete or artist is driving traffic to get this product.
I podcasted with Jack Gayton at their
Yeah,
headquarters
yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Jack's great.
And he awesome. But he, we talk kind of about like basic principles with retail. Like what do they want out of a brand?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously margins are up top. They have to be able to profit off of it.
Yep.
There has to be some sort of demand, novelty, newness. But being able to drive traffic into stores, like Vitamin Shop is not just a place for you to put something on a shelf. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of brands make now.
No question. And it's hard, right? I mean, I could tell you, being a new brand, it is hard to drive traffic. You've got, there's awareness challenges, especially when you're a new brand, that some mature brands don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that retailer, it's not, and look, I know Jack would probably even say this, as much as you hope that the people behind the counter, that I can go in at every 700 Vitamin Shop stores, shake their hand, tell them my story, show them the product, show them who we are, show them what the brand is, walk out of there and hope that person's going to remember me. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a very small percentage. Very
And
small
they're not all gonna
percentage.
relate too.
Yeah. So I mean, really, and look, you guys have been in enough of these stores. A lot of people, I would say, go into Vitamin Shop and GNC predetermined to know what they want to buy. Very few people, and I've sat in for 2 hours. I sat in a store one time, just watched the number of people coming in, and watched if they actually asked somebody at the counter about a particular category. Like, hey, I'm looking for a new pre-workout. Not one in 2 hours. Yeah. They walked in, they either went to the cooler, they went to buy the bars, they walked back and they literally were in the category where they're like, okay, they knew what they wanted to buy, right? So that's
We're in an age of information.
Determined
right,
it beforehand.
That's right.
So, okay, we've heard some good stuff.
Yeah.
So then where did this go wrong? And it was called the Hyde Power Potion, right?
So Hyde Power Potion,
yeah.
So you know where it went wrong? We didn't, and this is one of those learned, mistakes that you don't repeat.
Tuition payment.
Yeah, exactly. This is really early on when carbonated energy for our industry was kind of a new thing. So nobody really knew what sweeteners to use, how much acid to use. Now the co-mans are all like, okay, well, these 3 that we do here sell like crazy. We use this level of sweetener, sucralose or ACE K, right? So it's the balance of sweeteners. So now, if you come out with an energy drink, it's almost, I don't want to say next to impossible, but most energy drinks now taste pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make a bad one.
It's hard to make a bad one now. We made a bad one. Hyde Power Potion was too sweet.
Yep.
It was highly caffeinated, so we played that 350 milligram caffeine. So at the high range, we went above Bang. which at the time was 300 mgs. We said, look, we want to be stronger. We're Hyde.
Right.
So that was 350. Where we failed was the flavor. We had to do some turns on that. And then ultimately, private equity, they looked at, we know how expensive these things are. We know how expensive it is to carry 8 flavors, right? We know at the time, minimum runs, which has changed significantly. To get in this beverage business back in the day, you're looking at 12,000 cases or more per flavor. So truckloads, right? So it's an expensive. It was an expensive endeavor, and I think ultimately, my partners back then said, you know what, that's not a space we want to play. Again, I think if you'd asked them today, hindsight being 2020, they should have leaned into it because we had distribution. I had people, even as quirky as our flavors were, we had Khaled. We had 8 flavors in shop. I had GNC coming on board. We had beverage guys saying, I can't get enough of Bang. I'd love to have your product. So, but we ripped the ripcord on it and it just
Okay, yeah, because I remember, first off, I did a video with Josh Shaw. I don't even know if we have it still on our channel. And I just right off the bat said it wasn't going to work because I was being vain or whatever, because Khaled wasn't fit. That was basically, and so like I felt like I was right. And now I'm realizing maybe I was right, but I wasn't right for the right reasons and everything. But then, with David Sandler at one of the Arnold conventions, we tried the drink, and I noticed that sucralose was ahead of caffeine, but there's 350 of caffeine. I'm like, this is going to be sweet, and it was incredibly sweet. So, in our industry, we like it because we get bombed out with sucralose and we're used to it. Regular people probably can't handle that, and then it's tough to finish the can and everything. So I mean, it happens. But
it doesn't happen.
Were you trying to cover
anymore.
up? Was there a teacrine or dynamine in there?
There was teacrine in there. But I will tell you, it really came down to be honest, and this is not David's fault, but no one really knew. It was such a new thing to sweeten. So he went super heavy on the sucralose. Matter of fact, when we finally started getting it right, a co-man we went to, they said, how many milligrams of sucralose are you using? I think we had like 900 in there. I think that was the number, but the co-man's like, there's your problem, man. Like, there's your problem. So then we, by the time This is
a funny thing, though, because no one's transparent about how much sucrose they put in their products. So no one watching this is really going to appreciate how much
that's a lot.
No, it's a ton. And look, it's not for no other reason than David didn't know.
Still safe, though. You still would have to drink 60 cases of them to get
it's just ridiculously sweet, right?
Yeah.
So that's
fun times.
Poor Hyde Power Potion had its day in the sun, and that was it.
But it wasn't TJ Khaled's fault. He didn't.
No.
I just love this redemption story because I kind of talked bad about this guy who seems like he was the man, and I want to just apologize. No one cares what I think, but I feel like, wow,
he was actually.
I like hearing that.
And I've worked with a lot of celebrities in this industry, and he was probably at the time one of the best partners we've had.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
cool.
Yep.
I always thought it was the matchup of the name with the concept, like the whole artists and everything. I always thought that Hyde. It would have been I love the concept and the ideas, and I always thought that I don't have the name, I don't know what it is, but I always thought that a different concept would have fit him better.
Yeah, I would have brought in Rob Zombie or something to do that.
Yeah, no, for sure, that would have been sick. No, but same type of thing. I was trying to stretch it. I was trying to get out of, not get out of, but share. Winning over here. But letting the mass consumer know that you can drink these performance energy drinks, as we're calling them now, and not just be a pre-workout guy.
The distribution was there. I distinctly remember buying a can on a sales trip in Madison, Wisconsin, in the middle of nowhere. I remember you having pop-up displays.
Dude, we had it was literally we were kind of fixing as we were going. Terms of the sweetness and all, and then my partner just said, "Oh, it's just too expensive."
This was back when you would buy cardboard boxes.
It was a beer box.
Yeah,
beer box
with a handle on top. I remember you would sell them as a 12-pack. You didn't buy individual cans back then. Vitamin Shop.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was back in the day. It was okay. That was before all of what we see now has happened.
Okay, so you put in 5 extra years at ProSupps. And then it's time to put in your 2-week notice.
So I would tell you. So I think probably everybody in the industry knows this. I partnered with Nick Stella at Rise.
You were on this podcast.
Fairly early on.
We do have an episode.
We do have an episode, and I did not realize how early on you were.
It was really early, and I recognized he had a really strong intuition around marketing, and especially digital marketing. Right. And that was so early on when no one was getting it, he was getting it. And I said, okay, I believe in that. I invested at the time. It wasn't chump change, but it was, it was not a huge amount of money to partner with him. And then throughout those years, he would ask me questions about Vitamin Shop, and he and I still to this day, we're still partners. But I left ProSupps, jumped over there for about 6 months, started working more closely with him. And then I realized, and I've said this on a podcast, and I've told this to him as well, we're better partners than we are coworkers.
Right.
I think that's a fair way of saying it. And I would tell you, he's alpha, I'm alpha. Sometimes that doesn't always mix, right? I have this thing, hey, we should go here, and he's like, maybe, but I want to do it this way. So it just, for a lot of reasons, it just didn't work.
I have found that digital marketers and sales reps don't mesh.
Yeah.
I found this myself. Like I am a digital person natively, but when you work with people who work in sales, who work in like who understand that the industry and sales channels, digital and like physical don't always mesh extremely well.
That's so well put, man, and it's so accurate, because I think that's the challenge, is that a lot of these direct-to-consumer only brands that don't have the retail distribution are facing, because there eventually is a human element to this space. And a lot of the guys that live in this digital world that are doing things, with obviously IG and TikTok, there is eventually a human element to, you can't go sell to Walmart with an Instagram ad. You have to sit down in front of somebody and talk to them about your story and do all that stuff, right? So I spent some time there, 6 months. The cool thing was, I've known Tom Ryder, who is the founder of Applied Nutrition, which is the mothership to ABE. I've known him for 6 years. I used to run into him at FIBO, Body Power. He and I became friends, just trade show buddies. And then almost a mutual respect, because we'd have a booth, he'd have a booth, and we'd throw bars at him and he'd throw bars at us. But he and I became good friends over the years. And
I think people appreciate like what the Expo buddy thing is like. Like you have friends that you only see at Expo.
That's it. It's almost like a reunion.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's weird. You don't talk to them all year.
No.
And you
don't
show
work
up.
with them. You don't. But you're still buds when you get there.
100%.
Yeah.
Like
That's
almost
awesome.
like family. It's weird. It's like this weird, like, man, I miss you, bro. Like one of those weird, like, shit, man. I love it. But
So a lot of American consumers won't know how big Applied Nutrition is.
yeah, so we're $100+ million a year in turnover. Probably one of the largest brands in the world, really.
Where's headquarters?
Liverpool, UK. Tom and I sat down at the Dubai Muscle Show a few years back. It was even before I left ProSupps, because I was there, and he pulls me over, and he bought me my first gin and tonic. We sit down and we talk about brands, and he said, TJ, I've always wanted to bring my brand to the US. And of course I was at ProSupps, knowing that I wasn't going to be there very long. And I'm like, well, what are you thinking? And he said, well, we got all these SKUs and this and that. And I said, well, look, let's keep a dialogue going, So we did. For the course of the next 2 years, we kept staying in touch, seeing each other at trade shows. And then I just realized, you know what? Me and Nick are better partners than we are coworkers. And, so I reached back out to Tom and I said, hey, you still interested in bringing your brand to the US? He said, oh man, absolutely, And so we connected, and I suggested, look, Tom, Applied Nutrition, for those that don't know, 300+ SKUs, 300+ different items, plus probably flavors on top of that, right? So it's probably 1,200 items, right? I said, that is an overwhelmingly large number of just marketing energy that we have to spend to even talk about bringing Applied Nutrition to the US. So I suggested, look, our consumer, the ABE brand, which I will say was not a brand, even in Europe, ABE was just a product. So
one pre-workout, right?
And it's not even our new pump formula. It was just a pre-workout and an energy drink. So we had those two things being sold. Number one, our powder is number one pre-workout in Europe. But it was a product of the overall brand. But I said, look, I'll do this, but you have to trust me. Let me create the brand around the product, which is the first time I've ever had to do something like that. Normally you have this idea of brand and what brand needs to look like, what the apparel needs to look like, what the athletes need to look like. We did it at ProSupps, did it at Rise, and doing it here was exciting because ABE, all black everything. I'm like, okay, that's pretty edgy. It's pretty hardcore, right? But I said, Tom, you have to trust me that allow me to create the brand. So I brought some really creative people in that I've worked with in the past, and we built what ABE is, what you see today, from labels to look to our Instagram pages to our apparel. And it's been an incredible experience. You know, starting from scratch is always tough. You know,
right? Because you didn't use or use the pre-workout, but you really
different formula. Total. I mean, we used the letters.
Yeah.
ABE. We changed the label. We changed the label from the get.
So this is a new. It's like an American LLC and all that.
Yeah, It's a ANUSA. So it's Applied Nutrition USA LLC. So
okay,
it's our own office. I partnered with two of my partners. One's Tom Ryder, one's Steve Granite in the UK, and we partnered here to do basically this brand here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did you initially launch with energy drink and pre-workout, or just pre-workout?
No, it was both. So that's the cool thing. I would say, like, the great thing about what we had going is we already had great costing. We make products. The important thing, 140,000 square feet under roof in the UK. We make all of our products in-house. So that supply chain flexibility you have around new flavors, timeliness of delivery, getting in line with co-mans to have product run, all that
But this is all made domestically here.
No.
Right?
No, that was my next question. That
was made in the UK.
So you import all of this
We
stuff.
import right now everything except our protein.
And that's cost effective because you're making it itself.
Shocking. Yeah,
That's
it is.
normally not.
No, I
you
know.
I don't need to tell you
No,
this, but
I
like
know.
for people listening, like that.
That's an anomaly. That
doesn't make sense to me.
No, it shouldn't. I mean,
but they have manufacturing over there, and they already have the ingredients.
So what we're doing, picture this. If you're a manufacturer, you have your cost of material, and then you have what your overhead is to build the product, right?
Right.
They're netting it down to just cost of material.
But you got to pay container fees and getting it shipped over.
But guess what? Shipping when we started was about 12,000 a container.
Right.
It's about 3,000 a container.
Yeah, it was crazy for a while.
Yeah, so shipping's next to nothing. Duties on pre-workout, since there's no like dairy or sugars, or you don't pay any tax on this stuff. Same on this. So
Well, I'm surprised about the cans because the cans are heavy.
they are. But I was shocked. We've gotten quotes locally, and like from some, the cool thing about my partners, they're like, hey, look, if it makes sense to run there, rock and roll.
Yeah.
But it absolutely doesn't. We were paying the lowest quote I got was like 40% higher. Wow. So what gives me the advantage to go into like a top retailer. I mean, we're flowing into Meijer, Giant Eagle, we're in Walmart, and be able to offer them really competitive pricing on a great product that has real ingredients in it. Like, this isn't just caffeine and water. You know what I mean?
So to go back to like what we were just talking about before, we talked about Jack Gayton, where he's like, he's like the trifecta, right?
Yeah.
Like, you were saying, like, as a new brand, you might struggle generating foot traffic.
Right.
That trifecta, you can lean a little bit more on, like, we've got better margins.
Better margins, right. So you get, a retailer that says, okay, you know what? I know you're not C-Bum, I know you're not, Kim Kardashian, but I'm making 15 points more on your pre-workout. I can afford if the terms are not what par looks like for me, right?
And you can lean into promotions with them a little bit.
That's the other thing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So for all those economic reasons, I think, and look, Jack would probably tell you this too. Like, there's still a foot traffic problem with specialty retail stores. There still is. You can't say that. Now, the difference is, are people going into Vitamin Shop buying drinks and bars at a higher clip than they used to? Maybe. However, there's still a foot traffic problem, and there's still a reason why Shop is trying to get brands to do exclusives and drive, and with high paid influencers and athletes, right? There's a foot traffic issue, and I don't know how that goes away, because what I'm seeing, and it's fairly convenient for me to say this because this is where I'm growing, is you're seeing these sets in places like Walmart, in places like HEB, places like Giant Eagle and Meijer, that 5 years ago were 10, 12-foot sets that are now full aisles.
Right.
And it's about being recognized now as a point of destination for brands like ours. And eventually, foot traffic through OTC at Walmart is 1 million people a week. You can't compete with that. And those are people, and what we're all seeing, those are consumers that are buying not just 6-star protein like there used to be. They're buying Bum. They're buying Rise. They're buying ABE, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you get someone's coming into the store, how do you get them to buy ABE instead of Rise? Let me just say.
No, that's a great. So we have to do our work on the consumer side. With cans and specifically cans and hands type events.
To back you up on it though, the difference between looking at Rise and seeing something that's colorful and light, and looking at something that says all black everything. You as a metalhead, I feel pretty sure that you probably pick up that.
It's got some light tones to it with the fruit.
Thank you, and it's funny you say that. I've always said.
Not that you walked away from Rise and made like the complete opposite to spite them, but you know what I mean. Like, this I relate to much better than Rise.
Well, and the reality is, that was the pitch that I made to Jack. Was look, I think there are a lot of brands, and this is where Nick has done a really and Dan at Ghost. Have made sports nutrition really convenient for, lifestyle fitness people, and they're in the way that they look. Now their formulas are performance based, but the way that they look, the way that the attractiveness to it has been. I've told Jack, I think a lot of brands chase that and overcorrected. So now there's this field of whites and rainbow colored this, and now how do you distinguish yourself from those guys? You said it perfectly. All black everything.
Right.
Like all black everything. So I've seen all this, and I tell you, it's working.
Well, we were talking about how like back in the day it was cool to be hardcore. Like people willingly drank 12 tablets from an animal pack, like and carbolic and all that stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not there anymore where the mainstream consumer wants something that's inconvenient or disgusting, but something to feel like. Like you said, you want to you wear black when you want to look more hardcore.
Yeah.
Like some people feel that way. They might not want to wear all light colors and stuff. And to me, like a lot of people want to wear all black.
So I happen to think, and again, I'm saying it because it's convenient for me to say it being ABE, but I think there is a place at the table for a brand like ours. We're proving it. We're proving there's a place at the table for a brand like ours where people are saying, you know what, this stuff is great, but I want something with a little bit more edge. Right. I want to, and it's not like any formulas are weak or whatnot, but it's, that's what's so amazing about marketing, right? Like it's, you can build what you intend your brand to be with consumer, with your products, your packaging, and it tells a different message and it attracts potentially a consumer that might want something different than what they've been trying because they view it as something that's more serious. Or more hardcore,
right? I was gonna say, like a lot of times we see the black tubs, and it's like this crazy hardcore demon thing or whatever. That's not this. You have the more professionable, but it's also I like when you said the edge, like all black everything. Yeah. Like it's just I'll bring your edge or something. ABE,
just a little.
Abe brings edge. I like that right there.
Abe does bring edge. It's kind of like hey, I've had a good time with these brands, but I want something that's gonna it'll sharpen my sword a little bit more, and that's what ABE's been able to do.
I mean. I think that there's a lot of brands out there that are kind of cringy when it comes to like trying to be hardcore. Right. Like you said, demon pre-workout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We see a lot of those.
We get reached out. A lot of companies reach out to us with just like honestly like inappropriate names at some points and stuff. And it's like that's not a great look, but like a clean, crisp, all black everything makes sense to me.
Yeah, and one thing you said during this podcast and then before the podcast is that you want to bring more people into the industry.
Right.
And I want to reiterate that you said that because you care about this industry. Ben cares about this industry as well as I do. And it's like when you see products that are embarrassing, that's not what we want. So so there's doing the black branding properly is very important.
Yeah, no, and you said it perfectly. I think what we did try to do with this in particular, even with our the new pump formula, is
we got to get into that.
Yeah, no, so obviously we want it to still carry the seriousness when you dress in all black. You go to the gym. I mean, I used to say this story all the time. When you go to the gym, I know when I go to the gym, I wear a certain. If I'm doing legs, I know what I'm wearing. It's all black, and I don't just close my eyes and pull my drawer out and grab a shirt and grab a pair of shorts. It's like there's an outfit.
You look good, you feel good.
Right, 100%.
You want like a certain feeling and
right. So we know because anyone you ask, if you were to go out on a date. First date, what are you wearing? You're wearing black, something black. Maybe not all black, but you're wearing something black. Why? You want to feel your very best. You want to be your very best. You want to present your very best, right? And that's, for us, it makes the messaging and the branding super exciting and super cool and super easy, really. You know?
Let me ask you, I want to get into the pump.
Yep.
But right before we do that, one last question I have to do when it's like distribution and stuff. Do you think that moving into Walmart will, I don't know, decrease consumption in other channels? Because we see some people losing consumption like Vitamin Shop and GNC when they go into Walmart.
Yeah, no, I think there's only a certain, now I say this, like I said earlier, I think there's a ton of new consumers coming in the space, right? And I think the question is, where do you capture those new consumers, right? I still think GNC and Vitamin Shop are valuable partners for that. I do think, and I'm not just saying it because it's where we're placing our bets, but I do think that foot traffic will continue to be a challenge for retailers. And it's not just ABE that's creating the separation between consumer behavior from specialty to FDM, HEB, and other brands. I mean, look, let's face it, CBOM, Rise, Ghost, all these guys have said, okay, look, if we just invest only in the ultra specialty channel, we're going to pay a lot in promotion. We're going to pay a lot. There's a lot of costs. There's way more costs involved in participating in that space than there are banking on. And again, there's risk, right? When you go into FDM, there's a consumer, a less educated consumer. There's a consumer that doesn't know as much about what's going on potentially in Instagram or TikTok, right? They're going more off the 5-foot rule, which is, does the package look cool? Is it priced right? Is it something I can afford? So it's a different way to bait the hook, But I do think in time, and I think the guys at Vitamin Shop and GNC, there's going to always be an opportunity to participate in whatever brand you own, right? In that environment. I think a cool way to do it is exclusive flavors and different things. It's a great place to launch and incubate new flavors and new products. But I think what you'll find, this is what I've told a lot of people, because we are in Walmart, we are going into Meijer, but we don't have the full line there. I think it's a great way for us to get people to try the products. And then if Vitamin Shop so decides, or GNC so decides, they carry the rest of the brand. Yeah, you can get Blue Lagoon at Walmart, but you can't get the other 5 flavors. You can't get the exclusive, Batty Berry, right? Although you can at Walmart. But point being, right? I think there's definitely opportunities to play in both spaces, but I do believe in time, those sets will continue to grow.
I've always felt like there are levels to this game, and that certain retailers, like, you have to be called up to the big leagues. And I think that one issue that I've seen over the last couple of years is that line starting to get blurred. Like, Walmart has brought in some people that I didn't necessarily think needed to be an FDM or deserve to be at that level of distribution, whereas I thought they should have proved themselves at Vitamin Shop first.
Sure.
Okay, so, all right, so to be transparent here, Nutrition 21 sponsored this podcast, so we have to talk about your new pump product.
Yeah.
Because it contains nitrosigine.
Yeah, of course.
But, of course, we saw this formula a couple months ago, and it was like, we got to talk about it.
Yeah. No, but are you formulating? Or
No.
Okay.
No, so I've got a really good team, my sales guys, Lance.
Their sales guys formulate?
Yeah.
Nice.
So they're just industry guys that have been.
Awesome.
And Mike Fabiano, who's he handles the corporate side of the business. Do you know Mike?
It's been forever. If I go to my old emails,
I'm
man,
sure,
it's been forever.
So he's formula.
Do they have to approve?
So yeah, and actually we work collaboratively together because I think, as you probably know, the guys, my partners Tom and then Gareth, there in the UK, they work with all these ingredient guys. They go to Supply Side West. They're super plugged into the innovation on the ingredient side. So I'm not a formulator. Those guys do a really good job making sure that we have thought about not just what ingredients, but the levels of inclusions, and then what's hard to flavor over. To be totally clear, our pre-workout, the ABE pre-workout we sell in the US, we had a powdered glycerol that they put in. I can't remember if it was trademarked or what, but within like a few weeks, we saw clumping, and so we had to pull that out.
You're shipping on a boat overseas, so it's extra time. It's
for sure.
Yeah,
so anything hydroscopic, I mean, we went through a couple of dings before we rolled the product out, but it wasn't because what we decided coming into this market was everything that we do, everything, even our protein powder, is going to be viewed not just from a formula perspective, but a packaging perspective, and right now a pricing perspective as premium. I know everyone says that.
Well, the US and the UK are different. They're completely different communities right now.
For sure.
Like formulating, like your buddies at Applied might not like the things I've said about like Gymshark's pre-workout and stuff like that.
No. It's funny. I've had critical talks with the guys about that too.
Yeah. Well, to their credit, I mean, like I didn't say the nicest things, but to their credit, Applied Nutrition is so large.
Yep.
And that pre-workout is so well sold that when Gymshark, which is like one of the biggest apparel companies in the world for fitness, comes out with their pre-workout, it was a private labeled Applied Nutrition.
That's right.
Which it is public and transparent.
100%. They will not deny that.
To give credit to them, like it is a highly distributed product to the point where like someone else wanted to literally use the formula for their launch.
And that's the thing, right? Like I think there's a strategy there, and they know. So Tom is good friends with the CEO of Gymshark. So there was obviously a relationship there. I don't even know what happened to that. I don't know if it's still being sold or what. Gymshark one. I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd love to say that my video did
kill.
something.
Yeah.
No offense.
Well, it's funny. I don't even. It's.
I think it was a limited drop.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it was a limited drop. I don't think that Gymshark needs to live in supplements.
Well, I'll tell you, man. Great point. I see a lot of apparel companies try to dabble in supplements, and I've not seen one that work. I don't know why.
It's such a different community.
It is, man.
I mean, you understand better than anyone. Like,
so I would tell you this. Back in the day, picture this, guys. Remember, and look, Optimum tried. A lot of these big brands that owned one category tried to, hey, if we do protein right, certainly someone's going to put value in the pre-workout we develop. I've always viewed as pre-workouts and performance as like more technical, right? If you're an apparel brand, you're an apparel. What the hell do you know about pre-workout? So how do you bring any credibility to that? I think that's a challenge that a lot of apparel companies have, right? It's not like they don't have the following. I mean, there's a couple really big apparel companies here in the US that have way more influencers than we do, way more reach than we do. But what credibility do they have on the supplement side?
in my opinion, it's always just been people who think it's like, oh, just put shit in a bottle and sell it.
100%.
Yep. It's like Gymshark, obviously they have ties to Applied. They also have ties to Bumps Ed. They have ties to Ghost. They have ties to like companies that could have said, hey, let's do this a little bit better.
Right.
Like, there's plenty of people who could have, and from every perspective, formulating, flavoring, like distribution, I've always felt like
I'm wondering if it was a cost thing. Again, I wasn't part of those conversations. Yeah, who knows?
But I've always felt like exactly what you're saying
Yeah.
because supplement companies, ironically, like you said, there are protein companies that haven't been able to break into pre-workout.
That's
and
right.
vice versa.
That's right. That's right.
Like Cellucor for years tried to do a protein.
There you go. And
Never
who had better distribution than Cellucor 7 years ago? Nobody. Yeah. They were the king. They had stuff everywhere. So
that's what I was going to say. So let's just talk to you. So what I wanted to say is I really enjoy your formulas. Energy drink is like, obviously I would do things slightly different. It's doing a lot of things that no one else is doing.
Sure.
So people are going to feel a little, exactly,
Yeah.
a solid hit of dynamine.
Yeah.
I've always been positive on dynamine.
Yeah.
So I can tell why this is making me feel good here, and that's why I want to chug it earlier.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, energy drinks, there's millions of them. Mm-hmm. People drink ours and like, I just feel different when I drink your drink.
If you give a normie, I'm going to say like a non-supplement hardcore user, if you give them a good hit of some of the ingredients that you have in here, they're going to feel good.
They're going to feel it, right? Yeah,
like,
for sure.
The betaine, if they're not getting enough, they get, right. And
what's so cool is that like, because you're coming from the UK, like this is a very different formula for the US.
Right.
Like to have an energy drink that has that long of actives is different.
Yeah, for sure.
You have Ghost and Rise who have some additionals.
Yep.
Like, I would say like for a while Ghost had the most.
Yep.
Rise is a couple.
Right.
But this is like a full panel, which is very, very different. And your pre-workout was kind of a similar style, where it like bounced around, hit a couple things. But this pump product's like heavy doses. Yeah,
it was pretty fun. So I remember when Tom was like, we need to put a full dose of creatine in there, in ours. Like I think it's the only one that's got 5 grams of mono in a serving, right?
First thing I was going to point out, 5 grams. Yeah, and a full 2-scoop serving, which is you get 20 of those full 2-scoop servings in this.
I don't even know if this is legal, which I love about this, is that it says skin splitting in the panel. Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I think
2 scoops, skin split. I mean, to me, like that's hilarious to me. Like I'm sure, I'm sure like our regulatory friends are like, whatever.
I know.
It's hilarious, but. You guys have some really cool stuff in here. It's different.
So, did he justify why we wanted a full 5 grams of creatine in a pump formula? I'm not against it.
No, so I think there's been a lot of, and you guys would know this. I think there's a lot of talk about how, obviously, monohydrate increases pump. It on its own, it helps with that. And then having the formula be the only brand that has 5 grams in a kind of a full 2-scoop serving.
Well, here's my thought process. It's like when you take a pre-workout and you put creatine in it, it can be an issue because you need to take creatine every single day.
For sure.
But you might not want to take a pre-workout because of the stimulant every single day.
That's right.
But this is...
You get stim-free.
It's stim-free, right?
Stim-free.
This
no
is
stims, man.
So no matter what,
you
can take this in the morning.
Yep.
Because there is a benefit to taking pump supplements outside of just your pre-workout.
Absolutely.
There's blood flow. There's
the cool thing.
Even on a previous podcast, we talked about nitrosigine, and we can't make claims or anything, but there is a blood pressure reduction and everything. There are some healthy things that these ingredients definitely do.
We put nitrosigine in a lot of our products. We actually have a gel coming out, pump gel, that's got nitrosigine in it.
Are you allowed to try that yet? I saw some bags on your desk.
I'm going to send you guys home with some stuff, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm getting stopped in TSA.
It's just pump gel, sir.
It's just pump gel,
Exactly.
No, but I like the blend because you almost have to have citrulline in the formula.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of users want something more than citrulline.
That's right.
And that's where the nitrosigine comes in on top of obviously creatine. And creatine gets controversial with the acute before pre-workout.
So you know what's funny? Let me ask you guys a question about creatine. One of the reasons why we pulled it out of the pre-workout is there were women that didn't want to take pre-workout because it had creatine in it, which is, it blows my mind, but I think there's a lot of people that took creatine out of their pre. 2 reasons, right? You couldn't put it, unless you used like a hydrochloride or a creatine nitrate, you can do lower dose, a gram, right? I mean, a mono, you need 5 grams, right? And that's just a lot of volume.
The big thing was
the price got crazy in 2021.
The price hike was huge.
That's where Nutrition 21 started crushing it with nitrosigine because creatine and citrulline both skyrocketed in price and everything, and then
nitrosigine at a gram.
You can get
there are very few supplements where I will say like everyone needs to take this, and like creatine is one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Creatine is one of those things that helps everyone from elderly people with their cognition to just putting on muscle.
Yeah.
And probably everyone who takes this product wants to put muscle on.
No, for sure,
right?
100%.
But from just like an aging perspective, it is incredibly helpful.
Yep.
And no one is eating enough red meat. I know you usually talk about red meat. Like,
sure,
it's like a gram per pound of meat.
I know, that's fun. That's what I tell people.
I get pretty close some days.
But only a gram. You only got to eat a pound of meat to get a gram of creatine.
Someone's going to fact check us on
that.
No, but here's the thing, nutrients, we're getting less nutrition out of our food no matter what, across the board, whether it's minerals or compounds potentially like that. So it makes too much sense to get it, and as it depends on your size, blah, 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 activity level, you're going to pee out a lot of creatine. You need to replace, and long story short, you got to supplement magnesium, you got to supplement creatine, like no matter what, from my opinion.
Why not just get it in your pre-workout you can take every single day?
And one of the things that I love is our guys in Europe, man, our flavors, everything we make tastes like unlike in the brands that I've been in prior, where you'd have like, okay, maybe something I think tastes great, someone else like, everything we're kicking out is like, you guys crushed it with that flavor.
They're obviously doing it. Now, are they American?
See, right? I mean, how good is this?
This flavor is, I don't know, I could drink, I know you grabbed that one. I could drink this every single day.
Then you'll love this.
Oh, nice.
Blue Raz Pump.
Okay, so are they Americanizing the flavor profiles?
Yeah,
then?
we've actually, 100%, man. We've actually had to, the cool thing is we have our own R&D facility in our factory, right?
They manufacture it.
Like they'll overnight flavors this way, we try them. It needs more, we think it needs more acid. It needs to be tart. If it's a, sour gummy for us, we change that 2 or 3 times to get more of the sourness in it, right? It's fun though, but We change all the U.S. formulated stuff has U.S. approved flavor systems.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
And I think the cool thing
for better
is,
or for worse.
No, for sure. And you know what though? What's funny is Thomas told me that they've adopted the packaging. So what used to be ABE in Europe now looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they've used the kind of background wallpaper that we've used because their customers there are like, wow, I really like. Can I get the U.S. version one?
It's cool.
There are, I mean, it's funny. I actually would love to know if there's going to be UK people watching this podcast because of Applied Nutrition. But
yeah,
some of like the artwork here, I would consider to be American. Like we talk about like traditional American tattoos.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like the eagle with the.
So that was done by an American designer. Matter of fact, everything here.
The eagle
except for
is
the ABE,
touch. Yeah, with the anvil.
And the eagle.
The 40 scoops is touch. That's very
something
unique.
Melissa, one of our my original designers, said, you know what? We're a U.S. company. Let's do the eagle. And then the anvil. We actually came up with the anvil because we said, you know what? We want to have something like that's just unbreakable. You know, as part of an icon that we can play off of. We can put on apparel. We can put on packaging.
There you go.
So it's just fun. Like developing the brand has been, and it continues to evolve. So it's just been super fun.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is the kind of pre-workout
this
I
is
would take.
an exciting pump for me. We even talk about FitNox in here, so we've done some coverage on that. We'll link to that in the show notes
cool.
as well.
Okay.
So you have a lot going on here, and that I mean, it shows 2 scoops is 25 grams. So
yeah, that's a heavy powder dose.
is this going to be? Do you know the retail cost? I don't like to quote prices on the channel because things change over time. But like,
I believe we just launched it, and I believe it retails the same. I'm sorry, it's $39.99.
Really?
So I think it's a little bit less than our pre-workout. Our pre-workout retails $44.99.
that's a lot of stuff for
$39.99 for this amount.
So you guys are getting good deals on stuff.
It's good, and we do, and
that enables you to get nitrosigine in there, which is a premium ingredient. So. Okay, I got your model now.
There you go, dude.
TJ has sold me.
We want to make sure that anything we come out with, even our proteins, which you'll see, we're flowing proteins into Meyer, a variety of other retailers. You'll see even our proteins. We went with cookie inclusions and clear PET bottle, soft touch lid, textured labels. Like we want to do everything where people see everything that has a touch point. We want to make sure people know is ABE, and it brings that high quality, you know?
So how are you going to, what is the marketing plan for this? Because I want one more thing on the formula. Yeah. You have nootropics in here too. You have choline. Yep. I didn't mention beta alanine. That's not a nootropic. But you have choline. Nitrosagine's got nootropic claims. Then you have, alongside the choline, you have huperzine A. So you're working on like a lot of systems here. And creatine's even got cognitive.
Yeah. I mean, we know.
So is this a nootropic, stim-free pre-workout? Is that where?
No. I think we all know that I think consumers now are searching for more than just stimulants. They're searching for mind stimulants, if you will. And so I think we want to include that in any type of performance product, which is one of the reasons why we've got a couple of them in here, right? We've got a VitaCholine in.
That makes sense.
Yes,
that makes sense, right? So we know that people in the gym are looking for cognitive benefit, not just stimulants, and that's why we know, although I will tell you, because I've been in this industry a long time, stim-free is a fraction of the market. I mean, it just is. There are still so many people that prefer the stimulant-based pre-workouts over stim-free, but we feel like there's a place to be that, I would say, that upper tier stim-free offer.
I honestly don't believe the price that you quoted there. So like.
Yeah, no, I believe it's $39.99. If it's the same,
premium.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we did that. There was a method to the madness. I think because it's a 20-40 serve. We said, okay, you know what? If people take 2 scoops of this, it's really a 20-day supply. So we're thinking, okay, to be in that, we want to make it obviously affordable, right? And we think that people will probably want to double scoop it. But again, I do think there are other pump formulas out there that are more expensive than that one and don't have all the bells and whistles.
That's the thing. Yeah. Ben, have you tried this, or is this our first time holding it?
No, I've only gotten pictures of it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll take it home with you for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
When do these launch?
They are out. We are shipping. We started shipping about a week ago.
Okay.
So it's obviously online. Most local retailers have it.
So will this be in Vitamin Shop?
We'll see. We'll see. I haven't totally presented a lot of the new innovation to them yet. GNC is the same. Okay. But the intent is to.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Do you guys work just like brick and mortar, mom and pop?
Yeah, for sure. So we have, obviously we work U.S. military, Your Pack, Muscle Foods, Europa, Sport Life, any retailers looking to buy our products, they carry the full line, including the proteins. We actually have a number, which has been really cool for me, because obviously at ProSupps, we kind of cut our teeth on the brick and mortar retailers. So having the support of a lot of these guys that are still around, that are still putting value in brands that are supporting their retail stores. You know, we send out samples and shakers and loaded shakers with samples and T-shirts, and I still see a lot of value in that, right? I mean, that's when I can't be, and where our team can't be in front of a consumer, the only way that you really can get there outside of the digital world, which we're doing also, is put a sample of the brand in somebody's hand, right? And we do a lot of that, which again helps us really kind of expand the reach of what we're trying to do here.
So going back a little bit, when launching this brand, did you get a budget, like a lump of money, or do you need to sustain things all on your own now? Is there still
Yeah, that's a good question. So my partners have said, look, you know, we're a really successful global business.
Right.
And they said, look, we know we're in for the long game here. This is not, you know, I think you see it, we've all seen a lot of brands come out of nowhere, do a booth at the Arnold, and then next year their mail's getting returned, you know? You've seen that, right? Sure. That's not this brand. You know, fortunately, we've got, you know, super strong financial backing from Europe. And the guys are like, hey, we're gonna do what it takes. And we have. We've gotten the support, not just with samples. I mean, we're doing stuff, I mean, samples are not cheap.
Right.
I think we dropped at the Arnold, we probably dropped 75,000 single-serve samples at the Arnold, which is, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And then we're sending stuff out in the mail. We're doing a free online. We cover they pay the freight. We cover like a big water jug full of samples. And so it's just other ways that we're getting the support, the financial support to make sure that we succeed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions, honestly.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
These conversations are so much better in person. Like,
right?
And then feeling the product and
especially
everything.
when the technology's not working.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like,
That was terrifying.
so it was just so annoying. Yeah. It's been
Excellent. TJ, thanks for having us
Thank
here.
you guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for the story.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. People can find you at CEO
CEO
Swole
Swole.
CEO
Swole.
and ABE Nation.
Although I don't think there's a lot of CEO Swoles out there, but in case there are, CEO Swole.
And
Yep.
ABE Nation.
ABE Nation, ABE. A lot of people call it ABE Nation or ABE Nation.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.